right, we are back for episode 5 with the MANCARD Life Podcast. And once again, I'm Matt Bonnet, and this is
Rob Lambert.
All right.
Reverend Rob is on the job.
Reverend Rob is on the job, so we're glad about that. So this episode is about David, the power of godly love. And don't forget our foundation verse that we've been talking about for the series is 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. And it's for this round of series, we are doing things out of my book called the MANCARD, and these are biblical principles that we see from 1 Timothy 4:12. And basically, it says, "Let no one despise your youth, but be an example." And that word "example" we've been talking about is tupos in the Greek, and there's 5 ways that we can leave an imprint, because that's what that word means, to leave an imprint, to leave an impact. And there's 5 ways. Speech, we've already talked about. Conduct, we've already talked about. And this episode is going to be on love.
This is better than the first 2.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
this thing's not going to convict me like the other.
Oh, okay. This will be this. Yeah, we had to get the steel-toed boots on the last couple of episodes, but yeah. So I'm excited about this episode. And don't forget, you can get your copy of this book on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or on Walmart. And you can go to my website, mancard.life. From that website, you'll be able to, if you need to order in bulk, you can order these in bulk. You can send me a message and you can get your own little wallet-sized man card. And hopefully you're following with us. And at the end of this series, in a couple more weeks, we'll have a little time to sign those commitment cards, so I encourage you to do that with us. And yeah, so I guess we're ready for this episode, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Got a belly full of steak and ready to go, man.
We just ate and we're ready to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, we ate some farm grown beef. What was the name of that cow? Sirloin?
Sirloin, yeah.
Sirloin.
Mm-hmm. He was good.
And that was some good steak.
Your wife did a good job on the
To prepare
seasoning.
it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, you did good cooking, man.
Okay. I've just started doing that.
Really?
Yeah.
You ain't been a griller?
I've never been a griller. Haven't really had time to do it.
Well,
Always busy. But life has started to calm down just a little bit for me. So now that I'm back in a church.
Well, you did great because you didn't overcook it. I don't want you to overcook it.
I don't like an overcooked steak either. So, all right. But we're going to be talking about love tonight. And when most people think about love, David may not be the first man that they think about. I mean, like, let's think about, what did David do? What's he known for?
Messing up with a woman.
Messing up with a woman. Yeah, he did do that.
Killing Goliath.
Killing Goliath. He was
and being king.
He was a
sparing
king.
the other King Saul's life that time.
Yep, he was a military hero. You remember he
Him
killed
and his mighty men.
Yeah, he killed his 10,000. Saul killed his thousands. So yeah, so he had his mighty men.
Killed a lion.
Yeah, killed a lion. I think a bear too.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, a lot of things. So that's what he's known for, you know. And I believe David is what we can call a man's man. And here's why. Here's why I say that. Because he was that warrior. He was, the giant slayer. He was, the military general and hero and all that stuff.
And he was God's chosen man.
He was God's anointed, God's chosen. But he was a man's man because I believe we call him that because he wrote a lot of the Psalms, and some of them are tender. You see this tender side of him, so kind of like a worship leader in a way. And so he had the characteristics that I believe that all of us men need to have mixed together, So, and so that's why I think he's a great one to talk about love.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is this, because in Acts chapter 13, we also see it in 1 Kings, I think. This is what God says about him. I have found David, the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. That's why we want to talk about David, because that statement right there explains everything about him.
Yeah.
He loved God. He was a man after God's own heart. And real biblical manhood, it's not measured by any kind of muscles. We've been over that. We've talked about that. But I believe it's about the condition of the heart.
Yeah.
That's what makes a man.
I think one of the things overlooked with David is when God says he's a man after, my own heart, is God loved his people. And so did, David loved his people.
David did. He loved his people.
Yeah.
We're gonna be talking about that here in a little bit, because once again, I do have like 3 points
Oh, Lord.
that we're going to talk about,
At least it ain't 5.
It ain't 5. It ain't the only one you've ever done with is 5. So, or maybe that's just the most, right?
I think that's the most.
Oh, okay. I think I've done 6 or 7 one time. I had to go quickly through them too.
I was going to say, you probably were there 2 hours. Wasn't you?
Yeah, just about. It definitely wasn't like my first.
What
Sunday.
I always say,
What's that?
the mind can only comprehend what the rear end
The
can
rear
endure.
end can endure. That's right. That's right. So, yeah. So David's story to me is really remarkable because no one would have ever guessed because of his origins, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Samuel, once Samuel basically told Saul that, hey, I'm taking the kingdom out from you. Remember that scene? I picture it as a scene where, Saul's kind of like, no, and he grabs onto the corner of Samuel's robe and he tears off a piece of that. And, Samuel turns around and says, just like you tore the corner of my robe off, God's going to tear, your kingship away from you. And so now Samuel is, and Saul didn't know this, but Samuel's out there looking for the next king, and so Samuel, gets his information from God where to go, and he goes to the little old area of Bethlehem, and that's where we're going to find David eventually, but he wasn't even invited to that ceremony.
Oh, man, he wasn't even his dad's first pick.
No, because basically they're like, hey, let's parade all your sons because God's like, this is the family.
Right.
And, God didn't exactly tell him exactly the person.
Is this all your boys?
Yeah, that's right. Is this? Yeah, after he says, hey, that one looks strong and handsome. Well, that's not it. What? That one is. And he gets all the way through the list and is like, hey, you got to have one more.
Come to the freckle-faced kid.
Yeah, the little runt of the litter, basically. His brothers were so much more impressive and stronger looking, older. And God said this is what I like, Matthew 16:7. Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart.
Right.
And that's a key.
Remember the old song, The Shepherd Boy? It says, when others see a shepherd boy, God sees a king.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. That's right. Hey, I want to read that whole verse. I'm gonna find it real quick because this, I've told people this before. This verse describes me to a T.
Okay.
Okay. So let's look at this real quick. 1 Samuel, chapter 16, verse 7. Where is it? I thought this was it. Oh man, I'm gonna have to find that later. I should have already seen this. It describes how he was handsome. Oh, here it is. Here it is.
That don't describe you.
Verse 12, and he sent and brought him in. And now this ruddy doesn't mean he was scrawny. Okay, no, that's not what that means. And he had beautiful eyes, and he was handsome.
Mm-hmm.
I think God wrote that because of me.
I've always heard ruddy meant like he was freckle-faced.
Probably,
and red hair.
Red hair, probably, yeah, potentially. Yeah. So I always like to think, hey, God's describing me in the Bible. Most people don't believe it, though.
Handsome?
Yeah.
I don't think of handsome when I think about you.
Oh, thank you, Rob. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Rob.
You're not my type.
But I believe as we look at 1 Samuel 16 and we see what God says, how he looks at the heart, not at the outside, that's just a reminder to us that, our culture is obsessed with appearance, just like they were. And I remember when they picked Saul was like a head taller than all of them,
Saul was close, probably 7 foot.
Yeah. I mean, he looked the part of a king, and that's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody that's going to be the part of a king. And so David was the runt. He was overlooked. He was just a simple, lowly shepherd. when no one else saw something in him, God did.
Mm-hmm.
And God, gave that information to Samuel. Samuel picked him out and anointed him. And so if David was a man after God's own heart, how did that love show itself? And that's kind of what I want us to talk about in this episode. What does this kind of love actually look like? And I think we see it in David's life in 3 relationships, okay? And the first one is this: David loved and honored the people in authority over him, all right? And so think about that for a moment, because, I believe this is going to be an overlooked quality. We don't really think about this when we talk about David's life, but Saul hated David, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he threw spears at him, trying to take his life and kill him. He was so jealous.
Yeah.
Hey, did you see that that series on what's the I don't know if it was the Angel Network or no, the Wonder Network. You can get it off of Prime, but it's the House of David. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that.
Man, I don't want to sit here and just say, hey, everybody needs to go watch that, but I do picture a lot of that looking like that. I've always said that somebody, because we know how people are off TV and movies and stuff, that story of David's life and all through why he was a king and the lustful actions of Bathsheba. I mean, like, that stuff sells, and I don't know why men or women too are just so into that, and I wouldn't, I've always said somebody just needs to make a movie about that because, people will watch that, and I love how tasteful they do this. They don't do it in a nasty way or anything like that, and they really haven't. This season 2 is just finished up, but they really do a good job of telling this story, I believe. And, it's I guess it's kind of worth the watch. Now, do I agree with everything in it?
Mm-hmm.
Because they do talk about the Nephilim, and you know how I feel about that.
You'll learn one day.
Oh, I might. Okay.
It's coming ahead.
That's a theological debate for another day. Well, hey, we'll have that. That'll be a good time. But anyway, I don't agree with, everything, but, some of it is just they're filling in the blank spots, to make a movie. And that's okay. That's their right to do.
Well, one thing you're talking about, everybody always remembers Bathsheba.
Yeah.
But David did something worse. He sent her husband to die. Yeah. He murdered her husband.
He murdered the husband. He lied. He cheated. I mean, David's life, but, he respected people in authority, though.
Yes, he did.
Because for Paul to chase him down, want to hunt him, want to kill him, he had several opportunities to kill him.
Yeah.
You remember in the time he was in the cave. I can't remember what cave. And I always like, what do them caves look like? Because they had a whole army in a cave.
Mm-hmm.
And David was back there probably with some of his mighty men, some of his soldiers. And what does Saul come in and do? You remember this? He comes in there to relieve himself.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And David
could have killed him.
Yeah, he could have killed him. And there was a couple of, at least one other time that he could have killed Saul, but he's like, I will not lay a hand on God's anointed. And I'm telling you, the reason I want to talk about this aspect, of a relationship, about honoring and respecting and loving those in authority, because that's hard sometimes.
Well, if we look at it, who was David's best friend?
Yeah.
Saul's son.
Yeah.
There had to be some kind of, him respecting somebody for Jonathan and him to be best friends.
Yeah, the best friends, but they were actually brother-in-laws too.
Yeah.
Jonathan and David, because he married his sister.
Right.
So, and
among others.
Among others, yeah. Again,
that was his downfall. You get more than one wife, you're in trouble.
You are in trouble. One wife. I'm not saying anything about Melissa, but that's all I want to have.
Yeah.
But I do it because I love the Lord and I know what the Bible says. But there's no way, if I didn't follow, if I was not a believer, one wife. That's all I want. That's all I need. All right. It gets a little messy when you.
I couldn't be an Arab, with all the mamas.
Yeah, not at all. So, but I believe we live in a culture that kind of celebrates this kind of dishonor.
Yeah.
Where, people disrespect teachers all the time. Kids do in school. employers, pastors, government officials. It's the culture, and David really teaches us, that, hey, this is a downfall if you don't respect those in authority over you.
Yeah.
You've really got to do this, and that's one way that his love, showed through, because he did respect Saul's position. We don't have to like what they're doing.
All right.
We don't like, trust me when I say this, I've had some people over me in my life, especially in the military, that some of those guys were not good leaders. I mean, one of them, we actually, a leader or two that deployed with us, and believe this or not, and I don't want to get into this story right now, but my first few months when I deployed to Iraq, we actually lost all the top brass in my unit. We are a battalion strength, and battalion commander down. They had to isolate them all because there was some kind of corruption going on, something bad. And dude, you talk about scary when you were in the theater of war and you've lost everybody that's in charge of you.
Yeah.
And for days we're like, what are we gonna do? That was serious stuff. Yeah. And they brought some people in, and then they weeded out, and we got the good leaders back, and the bad leaders, they did remove them. And so again, I've had some leaders that but I had to. Hey, they were in charge of me. I had to respect them.
I've had that as a minister.
Oh yeah,
a minister over me wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, and I talked to an older preacher friend of mine. He said, "Look, that's for God to take care of."
Yeah, that's right. That's not up to us.
Don't you go against the guy that's actually over you.
Yeah,
and that's hard to do.
It is. And here's the thing. Here's what we can't do. So we, as believers, we can sit there and know that we won't like what people have done to us that are kind of over us, and we know, God's going to take care of them. But what we don't need to be doing is sitting back waiting for that moment to happen.
That's hard.
We don't need to be sitting back waiting. Okay, that guy's gonna get what's coming to him. That girl's gonna get.
Go, God, you go.
That's not what we need to do in these situations. All right, so we've got to be careful. Again, just talking about an aspect of love, that we often overlook, but I think it's important. I think David demonstrated it quite well.
Yeah,
I think he did a good job of that. But then there's another relationship that I believe he demonstrated his love in. And David loved his family and friends deeply. Yeah. I mean, he loved them, and we talked about Jonathan, and that is one of the relationships that is very important to talk about. Yeah. That was a relationship that was like no other.
Yeah.
And like you said, we got to keep in mind, Jonathan was Saul's son.
Who would have been the next king.
The next king.
But he supported.
And he supported David. In fact, and I'll just say this, he gave him his sword, his shield, his robe, everything, signifying that that was signifying that, hey, I know it's not me, it's you.
Well, this kind of goes back to some of the other things that we've talked about and going to talk about. Jonathan knew his daddy too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He knew what was wrong with him. He knew what he'd done, what he hadn't done. So he might have thought, I'm just speculating here.
Yeah.
But I think he knew that David was the new guy.
Yeah.
God told him. He saw what his daddy was doing.
Mm-hmm. He wasn't right. Yeah.
Right. That's just me.
I do believe that. I do, because I mean, it's got to take a person that's a bigger man than many people would be, just to, you're not the next king no more. You're not going to be it. And to hand off your sword, your shield,
and also remember, David took care of Jonathan's.
He sure did.
Kid,
and because they made a vow to each other.
Yep.
They made a vow to each other that, hey, you'll take care of my family when you become that next king.
Yeah.
And David owned up to his end of that vow.
Sure did.
What is it, Mephibosheth or something?
Yeah.
I can't
Didn't he
remember.
have like a club foot or something?
Yeah, there was something. He was a crippled boy, but he took care of him. Brought him to his table. He was eating at my table.
He ate at the table.
Gave him land back. I mean, that's not something people do. They killed their rivals in those days.
That's exactly right.
That's what's crazy about all this, and that's not what David did. He loved Jonathan deeply. In fact, when Jonathan died, David said this, "Your love to me was wonderful." And so that just showed that brotherhood, that loyalty, that sacrifice, that commitment. And you know what, men, we need godly friends like that. If we're going to be a man after God's own heart, like David, we've got to have friendships like David had with Jonathan.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bible says in Proverbs that iron sharpens iron, and so we need each other. You know, men like to isolate. Men like to not talk. I mean, I'm guilty of all this. We don't like to share. We don't like to cry, you know. And yes, I share with you a moment when I cried. I don't cry often, but I do cry. I'm going to tell you another story about when I cried too in a little bit. So probably the only second time I've ever cried in my life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nah, I cry all the time. I'm a wimp.
You're a sissy sometimes.
I'm a sissy boy.
That's okay though. That's all right. That's why I love you, Rob.
Yeah.
So that's why I love you. But if we're going to leave an impact on people, we've got to understand this. You know, we need each other. We need to support each other. You know, we need to show up for each other. You know, and I'm going to tell you, some guys, and this might be one of y'all, that you're struggling with mental health issues.
Yeah.
And what you got to have is you got to have men that you could call.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to have men that you can call. And then, men, if you're that person, you need to listen.
Yeah.
You need to listen, be supportive, be that help.
Yeah.
You know, because that's real, man. That's hard. We can be in those vulnerable spots, and you know, I've faced battles of depression myself.
Yeah,
me
too.
You know, with all the pain in my back through the different surgeries that I've had, and all of it kind of led through the incident that I had while I was deployed. But you know, just pain does something to you, and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And you know, you can want to isolate yourself, and you know what? That's not the direction we need to go. And so, men, we need to be there for our other men. And I'll tell you, when I was deployed, some of those guys, I don't know what it is, but some of those guys, it was crazy because I had a bunch of guys. Some of them were in my unit, some of them were in other units there, but I was the one that the chaplain they called in, to the contemporary service. There was another guy that did a really good job, and they'd asked me to help be a part of that, and I guess they thought I was, and I'll tell you this, I was also in the gospel service. You know what I'm talking about when I say gospel service?
Like the old timey way.
The old timey. I mean, that's where
preaching.
Yeah, stuff like that, and and some I don't agree with everything that they probably do in some of their worship services that they did with all the banners and dancing and stuff like that. That wasn't really, but I think they chose me because I was that loud. I wasn't afraid. I was loud, and I love to preach over there. I probably preached 3 or 4 times on a Sunday, different places. I went out and would go to the front gate and have a worship service with some of the third country nationals that were there, from, where were they from? They were from another country, but man, they could worship too. I'm going to tell you, that's, they put some of our worship services to shame, but I'm going to say this, those relationships, because I had a bunch of guys that were part of my worship team, and ironically enough, one of them called into the ministry. Actually, another one was called into the ministry recently. Yeah. And they were both, one was pastoring a church, one is going through seminary, and he fills the pulpit. He filled the pulpit for me, a Sunday recently, and, another one become part of a big worship band. Another one was leading worship. And you know what? When they started with, nobody would ever have thought this. But these guys, and I look back and they're good friends of mine, that I can call on whenever I need them just to talk to them. And I love these guys, but these are the kind of guys that we need. Yeah. When we, and I appreciate our friendship, because hey, you're the person that I can call and talk to. Yeah. And anytime, man. Yep. And we need each other. And, just like we talked about, Jonathan had, David and that friendship. And, he had a godly man in Jonathan in his life. But you know what? David loved his family well, too. So David really wanted to care for his family, because when he was on the run, when Saul was hunting him down like a dog, is what I think that's what the Bible says. He got his, parents together, and he had to get them sent off. He had to get them out of harm's way, and he cared enough, loved them enough, to take them. And the Bible tells us that he sent them off to a place in Moab. Do you know
Nobody wants to go to Moab.
no one wants to go to Moab? But hey, I don't know if you've made this connection when you've read this, but I love the Old Testament history, okay? So guess who he knew from Moab? His great-grandmother was Ruth.
Oh,
She was a Moabite woman.
that's right.
Yeah. So he went back to great-grandma's place is where
yeah.
that's a place of safety.
Yes, it
Hey,
is.
isn't great-grandma's place
I
a great
love
place?
great-grandmas, yes.
Yeah, I mean that's some good cooking, right? I mean, I know my grandma; she can cook some food. So he sent his family back to to great grandma's house, and I'm gonna tell you, it's hard to leave your family.
Yeah.
It's tough, and this. I know you know this firsthand, but I want to tell you one of the most exciting days that I had when I was in Iraq, because hey, I remember when I left my family, that was the other time I cried. To see my daughters waving at me, crying on a bus, made the whole bus cry. We were going off to the airport, and my daughters are running, chasing the big, the military bus, and all the people just are boo-hooing on the bus. It was funny. The little girls were boo-hooing, and it wasn't funny. It was a serious moment, but I cried. That it's tough to leave your family. And one of my most exciting times when I was deployed is when my Foot Locker finally got there. They had to put all these Foot Lockers on a boat to get our stuff to us. Do you know how long it takes?
Oh,
our
yeah,
stuff
7-8 days, wasn't it?
No, it was 2 months.
Oh.
I didn't have my personal belongings for 2 months, just my military gear. That's it.
Oh,
No, I didn't have. But I'm gonna tell you something. My wife was nice because she packed some little notes in there. The girls had some notes in there, and when I opened it in my little housing unit, it was like a breath of fresh air because I could smell home. I mean, I could smell it, I could feel it. It was like I was there. That was one of the most beautiful moments when I was in Iraq, and I appreciate what my wife did. She had like little scents of the girls and hers that she put on the little bears, and but it's hard to leave your family. Yeah. He had to make sure they were put back and safe while he was being chased. And how well do men show their family that kind of love? The kind of love that he had, because these days, men seem to want to spend all day at work. Which, hey, we got to work, men. I mean, you got to work, and you got to work hard. You got to be a provider. But you know what? Sometimes we go to work and then we go to our hobby. And you know what? By the time we get home, our kids are in bed.
Yeah.
How much time have we really spent with them?
Not much.
I mean, men, we've got to love our families enough to want to spend time, hang out with them, to teach them, to lead them well.
Yeah.
And it's like some of those families, when you have a husband like that, it's like a single mom. That's the way I've had it described to me before. When I would counsel people, and, they described it as being a single mom.
I've had that.
But men, we have got to love our family well. And part of loving them well, we got to be present for them. And so we know that, hey, David loved his family. He loved his friends. He had a great love for them. But you know what? He had a greater love. And you know what that is?
Yes.
He had a great love for God above everything else. That was his, his love was huge.
Yeah. And the more you love God, you'll love the things of God.
That's right. That's right. That is so true. And so really loving God is the source of your love.
Yeah.
Because like you said, if you love God well, you're gonna love your family well. You're gonna love those in authority well.
Yes.
And so if you don't have a good relationship with God in that way, men, be careful, because that's going to bleed over into our other relationships that we have. And David, I believe he did this well. David, again, I like to say it like this: his vertical relationship spread out into his horizontal relationships here on earth.
Yeah.
And we see the way that he loved God in the Psalms. As the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul pants for you. He says, one thing have I desired is of you, Lord, whom I have in heaven but you. I mean, David loved God. He wrote it in the Psalms. He wasn't afraid to do that. And that's why I say he's a man's man, because he had all these aspects of what a man was.
Yeah.
And did he do it all well? He wasn't perfect. We know that. We talked about that, but what made him a man after God's own heart is that when all that took place, he repented.
Yeah.
He could not have done that if his relationship was broken
Mm-hmm.
with God.
Yeah. The thing that gets me about him, we was talking about, he had more than one wife and all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what more than one wife means, don't you?
What's that?
That's more than one mother-in-law too.
Oh, I'm not going to talk about my mother.
I know you like, but I can talk about my own.
Okay. Calm down now. Oh, calm down now.
Lord,
All
take
right?
that out of my heart. Take
Yeah,
that out of my
there you
heart.
go. So,
But can you imagine having like 6 mother-in-laws or 1,000 mother-in-laws?
I wonder if it was different back then.
I don't know, but
Usually they weren't living all around each other.
yeah, hopefully not.
Probably because some of those marriages were from other countries to strengthen bonds anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah,
But still,
yeah, I understand.
there's a mama-in-law somewhere.
I understand. There's horror stories of that. So yeah, but again, David wasn't perfect. He was far from it. He had failures. Some of them were public.
Yeah.
Some of them were painful.
Yeah.
But David always returned to God.
One of the things about David that really touches me is, and you may be getting into this in a minute, but when, he had Bathsheba's husband killed.
Yeah.
And Samuel come up there and said, did you know that this did this and this and that? And David he's like, you show me who that is.
Yeah.
And it's you.
It's you. Yep.
And David's like, oh no. That's how you know what? That's one of the reasons I think that he was a man after God's own heart, because it convicted him.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
If he didn't know God, if he didn't know,
right.
that wouldn't have bothered him.
Yeah. We got to be men of conviction.
But it bothered him that he did that.
Yeah. Yeah. Sin has to bother us.
Yeah.
I mean, if sin don't bother us, man, we're in trouble.
Yes.
So, all right, I got to tell this story.
Okay.
I think it's fitting right here. I wasn't going to, but I think it's fitting because if sin doesn't bother us anymore, I mean, we are in a world of hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And so one day, all right, one night this was in Coleman. I was living in a house in Fairview. And as I was laying down in the bedroom, I started hearing this noise on the ceiling, and I'm like, man, is it raining? I looked outside. It's not raining. I was like, well, maybe there's a tree branch scrubbing up against the house. I looked outside. There wasn't a tree around my house. And I'm like, what on earth is that noise? And so, you know what? So I get the ladder and I send Melissa up into the attic.
Oh, man, that's wrong. That's wrong.
And guess what she sees? A snake.
A sneak.
A snake. She sees a snake. And what I was hearing was those scales going across the sheetrock.
That gives me the wheelie jeelies.
And you know what? She immediately came down, and I was like, okay.
I'm not going up.
I'm not. Nope, I wasn't going up.
You're scared of snakes.
Yes, I'm not going up. I'm like, we're going to go stay in a hotel until we get rid of this snake. And then I was like, you know what? I know somebody crazy, and he'll go get it.
Yeah.
Jed.
Mm-hmm.
So I called Jed. All right. Now get this. So Jed comes over. He's got his sidearm. I got my sidearm. We got flashlights.
Gosh.
We're
Little chicken snake.
We're gonna go up in that attic like we're on cops or something, and, and like shoot holes in my roof or something. I was like, wait a minute, we got to rethink this. So and Jed's crazy, and he didn't mind going up there, but he went up there, and so I got the ladder back out, and I gave him a little garbage can and a lid. That
if he'd have threw that thing down on you.
Oh, dude.
That would have been worth it.
This story gets better now.
Okay.
This story gets better.
All right.
So I send him up there, and then I had to send Melissa up there so she can hold the flashlight for him.
You wouldn't go.
Nope. I was not.
That's
going
terrible,
up there.
man.
I know. I'm not a
And
man.
you wrote this book?
I lost my man card, buddy. I lost it by sending my wife up to go shine a light
over a snake.
And he wrestled with that thing. I'm gonna tell you, I peeked my head up there.
Peek, yeah.
I did, And I'm gonna tell you, it looked like an anaconda was moving
Oh,
across
my
there,
God.
and all of the
About that big
and all
around.
the insulation was moving around it. I thought that thing was gigantic. It had to be.
he's
No,
about to
no,
count,
it
wasn't he?
wasn't, man. I'm gonna tell you how big it was here in a minute.
And it was a chicken snake.
I'm gonna tell you in just a minute. I'll tell you in just a minute. So I'm ashamed of this story,
I bet.
but it has a point to it.
Okay.
It has a point to it, and so. So he tries to grab that thing for, I mean, he was up there an hour. By this time, it's like midnight. And I'm like, y'all just forget it. Forget it. Let's just go to a hotel. We'll get it tomorrow. You know, because I wasn't staying in that house with that snake in there. And he's like, oh, I've almost got it. I've got it down to the corner. He says, let's go outside and we'll rip the little fascia board off. And I reach in there and grab it. You know, it was in the corner. So he begins to take my house apart. And so, you know, he's on the ladder. You know, Melissa's holding the ladder, and I'm standing.
But remember now, he's a siding guy.
He is a
so
side
he knew
guy.
what to do.
He
right
knew
there.
what to do. He knew what to do.
Yes.
And so, you know, Melissa's holding the ladder. He's up on the ladder, and I'm, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 feet away, shining a light. Okay, making sure that they had light. So yes. So he finally grabs it, but that thing is wrapped around something, and it is not coming down. And again, I'm like, just leave it. We're gonna go to a hotel, you know. And then I was like, wait a minute, I know what I'll do. So I go out there and get my little .22 rifle, and I hold it up to it, and I put one shot, and it shot through the thing and through my roof, put a hole in my roof too. So he had to fix that for me later. But as soon as I shot it, that thing released, and he came down. Melissa came down, the ladder came down, everything came down. But, you know, and his hand was about to cramp. I mean, like he was ready to let that sucker go because he was fighting with it for another 30 minutes at least out there. But they came down, he holds it up. That thing was almost 7 feet long. I have a picture of it.
Weighed 10 pounds.
I wouldn't touch it, but you know what? He's got a picture with his little daughter who was probably 4 holding it.
Yeah.
Not
She's
me,
got her
though.
own kids now.
Not me, though. I'm not holding that thing, but I got this picture with her holding this snake, you know, and
So you're saying you wouldn't have come saw me when I had my pet alligator?
no, we'll tell that story later. No. But here's why I tell that story. Because I did not want to stay in that house with that snake there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how we need to treat sin. If we got sin in our lives and in our heart, we better not be living with ourselves very long without trying to get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because sin in our lives, sin in our heart, you know, that's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
And so that's got to be removed. And when that's gone, then we can love. Mm-hmm. We can love God. We can love others. So we can have the vertical love. We can have a horizontal love. And, you know, David lived out what God commanded in Deuteronomy. You know, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And, you know, Jesus teaches the same thing. You know, love God, love people. That's the two realities right there.
That's
the
right.
greatest commandments.
Exactly.
Love God, love people. And you can't consistently love people if you're not in love with God.
Right. That's exactly right.
You know, so we've got to be connected to the power source. You know, we got to have a powerful love. And the only way we do that is by loving God.
Yeah.
And we can take the example, you know, of David and, you know, loving God, loving somebody is not a weakness. Mm-hmm. You know, loving God is not a weakness because you're a lover of God. It doesn't mean like you're some sissy anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not. In fact, that's the epitome of strength right there. You know, I heard somebody say it this way. You know, it's kind of like a tree. You know, everyone admires the fruit of a tree, right? I mean, we like to see the fruit on a tree. We admire it, but nobody sees the roots. Mm-hmm. You know, nobody's admiring the roots. And you know what? The roots, the fruit is visible, but the roots are underneath. They're hidden. They're this, but you know what? That's, you know, loving people is the fruit, but loving God are the roots. If our roots aren't deeply embedded, if they're just shallow, you know what? If we have a shallow love of God, we're going to have a shallow love for other people. Mm-hmm. And that's something we should not be able to live with ourselves. Right. That's how we are.
That's exactly right.
You know, so yeah. So our hearts need to be anchored with God. Yes. And that's where love begins. And I believe one of the most powerful moments of David's life was kind of at the end of his life. You know, on his deathbed. You know, we've got this old king, this old warrior, this old giant slayer. You know,
That's went through it with his kids.
oh my goodness,
That's another sermon.
and that is, and why was that? Do you think?
Because of his mess ups.
all of his wives, you know, with other wives, you got other kids, and you got kids from this wife, and they get jealous, and you know, it's gonna
Daddy
be a
killed a
mess.
guy over one woman.
What?
Remember? I mean, Bathsheba's husband.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay.
Daddy killed one girl.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he sure
don't make me kill you.
Yeah. And so we get to 1 Kings chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. It says this, and this is the advice as he's given his advice to Solomon. All right, this final lesson that he leaves. He says, I go the way of all the earth. Be strong, therefore, and show yourself a man. Keep the charge of the Lord your God. Now, what he doesn't say is, you know, on his deathbed, hey, go build bigger, go build bigger armies. You know, go build a bigger wealth. He doesn't say that. You know, he doesn't say go conquer more territory. What he says is show yourself a man by walking with God.
Yeah.
You know, that's what he says, because the real strength of a man is in how we love God. And it's through obedience. That's what he's telling him here. You know, keep the charge of the Lord your God. That's how you're going to be strong. That's how you're going to be good. And that's what you want to be known for.
Right.
And I believe David was known for that. It's not those great achievements like killing a giant, although that's the stories we tell, you know. And I love to tell that story, but that's not his greatest achievement. His greatest achievement is that he was a man after God's own heart. And I believe that's where we have to be. So, I guess, men, yeah. How's your love towards God?
Yeah.
That would be the challenge with this episode.
Yeah.
Is how is that love? You know, because we know when a man's heart belongs to God, then everything else will fall into place.
Right.
And so that there preaches, don't it?
It does, man. It does.
Yeah. You know, so what kind of man leaves an imprint that lasts when he's gone? A man that loves God.
Amen. That's right.
Who do you love?
Yeah.
What do you love? And I believe that's important. So I think that's all I got, Rob.
Well, hey, I got a funny story for you.
Yeah, here we go.
Y'all want to see me make him squirm?
Oh my goodness.
Listen, I was a rounder when I was a teenager, right?
Okay.
And so I was going out with this girl that went to this big private school, and she was rich and, you know, very nice looking young lady, right? So we go over to her house to watch a movie, right? You know, the lights are out, you know, we're on the couch. You know, you don't remember what movie it was. You know, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
All right, and so I'm sitting there, and you know, she's got her head over on me, and you know, I'm thinking I'm a cool dude, you know, and all of a sudden I feel this heavy thing go across my feet.
Uh-oh.
And I said, "What in the world?" And so I reached down there. I said, "What in the world is in your floor?" And oh, that's just Slick. Slick was a 14-foot, 180-pound python.
Oh,
and it was loose in the house. Let's just say that relationship did not last that much longer.
I'd have been gone.
Yeah. It's
That was
either
it.
the snake or me.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
No. Ugh.
Yeah. Could you imagine?
I can't.
It was on my feet, man.
No. I can't even stand to touch a snake. I don't like the scales moving in my hand.
Yeah.
That just. Ugh, I don't want to
It's the
think about
devil, man.
it. It is, yeah.
the
That's
devil.
right. That's right. That's right. No, I can't. What were you saying about an alligator?
Remember, I had a pet alligator.
A pet alligator.
Yeah. I went to Florida on a beach trip one time, and I bought the alligator from a guy on the street down there. It was little. It was just hatched almost.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, feed it raw vegetables. And I said, okay.
The Daniel diet from the.
Yeah, the Daniel diet. Yeah. And so I brought him back up, and the house that me and Dad was living in then in Coleman,
Yeah.
it had a concrete, like, big area of basement, and then it had another room over there. It was dirt.
Yeah.
Where they'd built onto the house but didn't do the. So I dug out a place down there and put water in it for him, and you know, put a light down there, a lamp, you know, and all. And I'd take him raw vegetables down there and feed him, you know. And so, like, my dad was legally blind by that time, and,
Okay.
and he couldn't see in the dark.
Yeah.
And the alligator had been down there like 2 years, and Daddy had never even been over there. And he went down there for something, and he heard that gator on that
On the
pack
floor.
down. Yeah. And he come up there, he says, I can't say it like he said it, but
Okay.
he's like,
please don't.
he said, I don't know what you got down there, but it needs to go. Because it, like you said, your dog does, it was poking his leg with its snout.
No.
And I said, Daddy, I said, Al has been,
Al is the name of your alligator.
yeah, that's real original, ain't it?
Yeah.
I said, Al has been down there 2 years. This is as much his home as anybody. So
Oh my goodness.
I guess you want me to tell you what happened to Al, right?
Yeah. What happened to Al?
Well, we had, I told you we had a golden retriever dog and we had a cat.
Okay.
And Al had done got up to about 4 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, he was growing. He was going to be cool. And like, like I told you, Charles Billingsley come do a concert for me at the church, and he's like, I got to see the alligator, man. Everybody wanted to see the alligator. And but one day I came down there. I think I went I was going to college. I went to college. I come home.
Yeah.
And I went down there to feed him, and he is dead.
Okay.
Just laying there dead. I thought, golly. So a guy I knew this vet, and I took him over. I said, hey, can you see if you can tell what killed my alligator?
And he did that?
He cut him open.
Okay.
And guess what was lodged in there?
I don't know.
My cat. He ate my cat.
That's not funny.
And
not
I
funny.
lost 2 pets in a day, dude.
Oh.
But the cat got hung. It got hung in his thing, and so they both died a terrible death.
Oh my goodness. Dude, I cannot believe you had a pet alligator and he died because he ate your pet
Ate
cat.
my cat.
Oh my goodness.
He was a good cat too, a good mouser. But they'd been together. I mean, like,
Yeah, they knew each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was
like when we'd have a
What do
tornado
you
come
think made
through.
him want to try to eat him?
I guess he decided.
He'd never tasted meat before.
No.
Oh my goodness.
I guess he, I guess he's like curious, I guess.
Okay.
But like me and the dog and Daddy and the alligator and the cat, we'd all been down there during tornadoes in the basement together, all just looking at each other.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm doing. I wrestled an alligator once. I'm
Oh,
not going to tell you that story.
I saw the picture of that. He had his mouth taped, and he's about this big.
He was bigger than that.
About that
He
big.
was bigger. I tell you, I didn't want to touch that thing at first.
You chicken butt.
It was kind of like a snake.
No.
no.
Alligators are good pets if they don't eat your other
If
pets.
they don't eat your other pets. I got you. So, well, you heard it from here first. Alligators make good pets.
Alligators make good pets. I don't like gators because I hate Florida. But hey, I'm a bulldog.
Roll Tide. Roll Tide. All right.
Go dogs.
Don't do
Sick
that.
'em.
All right, guys. So, hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode, on love.
I guess y'all notice he's got the better mic stand and everything. I guess y'all notice that.
You know why you don't have one of these?
He said it's because you can't see me.
You wouldn't be able to see your face.
But in our AI pictures that you put out, I'm gigantic in it. They ought to be able to see that person of me.
Yeah, they should.
I mean, in what world are you? You're smaller than me, man.
All you see is our upper bodies. If you see
And you got so much hair in that picture too. That's I do too, though. You gave
do.
me a bunch of hair,
You do too.
and a beard and everything. So I'm all in on that.
Yeah, you like it,
Yeah.
That's what you want to be, tall one day.
I look like a young Moses.
There you go. There you go. The young Moses.
Well, I bet we got to let him go, huh?
All right. Well, we appreciate you tuning in. Hey,
Thank y'all. We love you.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it with somebody. Again, you can find us on Facebook.
Send me your prayer request.
Yep. Send your prayer request to Rob. He'll pray for you 3 times a day. And you know what? This is what we say. Biblical principles, real life, and real men. Thank you.
See y'all later.